have you with us on this Friday edition. Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, and the iSave team bring you this production. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I have never seen anyone polling at 5% get as much media attention as the governor from New Jersey. He must have pictures of the media doing something that's really, really nasty for him to continually get this kind of coverage. And I think it's time the Democrats realize they're going to be running against Trump. This is not a summer sensation. There's no fallout. It's going to be Trump. He now has a 20-point lead on the rest of the field. And whether he wins Iowa or not, whether he wins New Hampshire or not, doesn't matter. He has the money for the long haul. He's basically in the same position that Hillary Clinton is in. Hillary Clinton might not win Iowa. She might not win New Hampshire, but she probably will get the nomination, right? Who knows? It's a crazy world out there. But it would seem to me that Trump, who is the front runner consistently for months on end, is offering up the agenda to run against as far as the Democrats are concerned. For more on that, let's turn to Tad Devine, who is a longtime media consultant and advisor and leader for the Sanders campaign. Tad, good to have you with us.
Nice to be with you, Ed.
On the heels of this gun violence that we saw in San Bernardino the other day, it seems that Bernie Sanders is the candidate that is coming out with a litany of things that this country could do. What's the political play there? What do you make of it?
Well, listen, I think Bernie has always been a very strong advocate of common sense gun safety. You know, I mean, this is a guy who in 1988 stood up when he first ran for Congress and said, we need to ban assault weapons in America. He did it in a rural state. He did it at great political peril to himself. He did it because he felt it was the right thing to do for Vermont and for America. And, you know, and I understand, you know, people grab a couple of votes from 30 years ago and say, aha, Bernie Sanders is beholden to the gun lobby. Nothing could be further from the truth. The guy has always been on the side of people. He has, been a common sense advocate for common sense gun safety. And I think, this whole campaign right now, frankly, I feel there are always going to be incidents that happen, whether it's the tragedy in San Bernardino or what happened in Paris. But I think the campaign and the election next year is going to be decided on basic economic circumstances that the American people are confronting today. And nobody's better on that than Bernie Sanders.
Ted, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think that economic issues are very, very important. But the gun violence in this country, it has become a social concern. It's almost as if it's a disease. It's an epidemic. We do things about that. It's almost like what the AIDS breakout was back in the 80s. I mean, 300. What's the magic number before we do something about it in Congress? And the fact is, Republicans are in the way. They are the reason why we can't get what Bernie Sanders is calling for. Right. So no matter how you look at it, there's a political angle to this. There's a party that doesn't want to do anything when it comes to gun violence. Is it dangerous politically to frame it like that?
No, it's not. I think it's the truth. You know, the truth is never dangerous, Ed. And, you know, the fact is that the Republican Party is completely and utterly beholden to the gun lobby in America, to the NRA. Yeah. They do their bidding every single day. They did it yesterday in the United States Senate. And, you know, I think, Bernie's been very strong. He was standing there with his colleagues yesterday advocating for proposals that would protect the American people. The Republicans are completely in the tank for the NRA, and they're going to stay there.
What did they do yesterday in the Senate?
Well, there was an attempt, to pass some common sense gun safety and measures in the United States Senate to say that people who are on a terrorist watch list should not be able to purchase guns. Okay, I mean, I don't see how something could make more sense than that. The Republicans did the bidding in the NRA; they stopped it. Bernie stood there with Chuck Schumer's and others leaders in the Senate to say, "We need this legislation. We need it now," and the Republicans once again stopped it.
Amazing. All right. You trail Hillary Clinton nationally, slightly trail her in Iowa, and in some polls you lead in New Hampshire. As a checkpoint right now, where are the Sanders folks in this campaign?
Ed, I feel really good about where we are. You know, if you're going to win the nomination against a prohibitive frontrunner, the way Obama did, for example, in 2008, and the way that Gary Hart could have, I worked for Walter Mondale in '84, and I saw how close Gary Hart came and the way he could have won that nomination. You have to do certain things, and I think Bernie Sanders and his campaign are doing all those things right now. We're building strong campaigns in the early states in Iowa and New Hampshire. You know, we've been on television for 4 weeks with paid advertising in Iowa and New Hampshire. Hillary's been on for 4 months, and I really think we're beginning to get our message through to voters in those early states. We've been on the radio in Nevada and South Carolina with targeted advertising. We've built a huge campaign organization that is powered by over 1 million contributions, most of them small contributions by people all across this country. Bernie's not beholden in any way to special interests. He's beholden to people who need change. And I think, you know, as we build this, we're getting on the ballot in every state all across the country. We're building organizations beyond the February states into the into the March 1st states all across this country. I feel really, really good about how we are positioned. We're approaching this not as a national primary. It's not a national primary. Everybody's not going to vote in one, you know, all across America on February 1st. We're going to start voting in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina, and we're building a process to succeed in that environment. And actually, you know, even the national polling. I mean, people, I think, saw the Quinnipiac poll last week. Hillary's got a large lead with Democrats. They do. But to see Bernie Sanders, who still is not known by 25% of the general election voters, they don't know him yet. They're getting to know him. But to see him have the highest net favorability of any candidate, Democrat or Republican, to see him beating Republicans by as much or more than Hillary Clinton is already right now in general election matchups, to see the strength he has on issues and attributes underneath that poll. I mean, I'm just very impressed that he's in the position he's in, and I think we're in a position to win.
Okay. If you're up against Trump, you win the nomination, you win the election?
I believe so. I think I think, you know, 140 million people turn out to vote in a general election. You know, 70, 80 million people tune into those debates. I think Bernie Sanders is going to have an absolutely great day, and not only get himself elected president of the United States, he will, in a matchup against Trump, I believe, elect a Democratic Senate and a healthy majority in a Democratic Senate, and I think we have a real chance at the House because Bernie can build a coalition that can not only elect himself, but can elect Democrats at all levels. That's the difference.
So it's a movement. It's a movement. Of course, the mainstream media won't call it that at all. All right. Does it frustrate your campaign that Chris Christie seems to be everywhere and he's polling almost in the toilet? I mean, I've never seen a guy at 5% get as much media attention as this guy does. And I've often thought if Bernie got half of what Christie got, the numbers would be a hell of a lot different.
Well, listen, if Chris Christie had Bernie Sanders' numbers in Iowa and New Hampshire, I don't think we'd do anything except see Chris Christie on TV, okay? I mean, you know, it is unbelievable. But listen, we're not frustrated in the least by anything or anybody. I'm very pleased about where we are. I mean, Bernie is working really hard. He's in New Hampshire right now. You know, he was in the Senate yesterday voting and then hopped on a plane last night to get to New Hampshire. He's going to be there this weekend. And I think we just have to focus on our strategy, delivering a message, you know, that this country has a rigged economy. It sends most of the wealth to the top. It's held in place by a corrupt system of campaign finance. That's what he's going to talk about, and I think the American people are going to respond to it.
Tad Devine, always great to visit. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much. You bet. Tad Devine, longtime political consultant, and he's heading up the advisory team of the Bernie Sanders campaign. And I think it's one of the reasons why Sanders is doing as well as he is.